there are different periods where Marx learns a lot from Hegel and then follows a period of critique of Hegel. And by this are covered rather different dimensions of Hegel's philosophy, and according to this also different works of Hegel play an important role for Marx. One of the perhaps most discussed philosophical issues regarding Marx is the relation between Marx theories and Hegel's philosophy. There are very different opinions that there was only early a big influence of Hegel, then Marx essentially split with Hegel's philosophy. Others say Hegel had an influence until the late Marx. In all these discussions, mostly is presupposed that we already know what means Hegelian philosophy. But this is not such an easy thing, and especially not something which can be put on 5 or 6 pages. Therefore, in my biography, I decided not to give such a 5-page abstract what means Hegel's philosophy. I start rather unconventionally with a description of the famous portrait of Hegel painted by Jakob Schlesinger, who was a personal friend of Hegel, and he painted this just a few months before Hegel died in the year 1831. This picture nearly everybody knows. When you start to read a little bit about Hegel, or even to look in an encyclopedia, what is the entry about Hegel, you will find this picture. And therefore, I think in a non-rational way, this picture influenced nearly everybody who has some contact with Hegelian philosophy. And therefore I decided to start my discussion of Hegel with a detailed description of this picture and to what ideas about Hegelian philosophy, that it is very hermetic, that Hegel is totally devoted to this philosophy and so on, to start with such an interpretation and to make plausible that maybe a lot of judgments about Hegel's philosophy are not really rational judgments, but just a kind of prejudice about Hegel's philosophy. Also, I decided that one cannot treat Hegel and Hegel's philosophy only one time. In this biography, Hegel will appear several times. There are different periods where Marx learns a lot from Hegel and then follows a period of critique of Hegel. Then comes again a period where Marx is closer to Hegel, and then comes again a new critique of Hegel. And by this are covered rather different dimensions of Hegel's philosophy, and according to this also different works of Hegel play an important role for Marx. So, for example, for the very young Marx who wants to become a poet, Hegel's aesthetic, his lessons on aesthetic, play a central role. There Marx learns a lot about the critique of poetry, of romantic poetry Hegel gave. Later, the phenomenology of spirit becomes important for Marx's writings of 1844, or before, I must say, before 44. Also, the philosophy of right was very important. The philosophy of right of Hegel was a very advanced analysis of state and politics. And this, in some respect, was a guideline for Marx when he worked at the Rhenanian newspaper. And after the Rhenanian newspaper was forbidden by the Prussian state, and Marx had also to accept that certain of his political ideas were proved wrong, what did he do? In Kreuznach, in the year of 1843, he was sitting down in his honeymoon after marrying Jenny. He was sitting down in his honeymoon writing a critique of Hegelian philosophy of right. Then, as I've already mentioned, phenomenology of spirit became important. Later, Hegel's logic became important when he was just working on Grundrisse. But what was most quoted in capital was not Hegel's science of logic, it was again Hegel's philosophy of right. So in different part of his life, different works of Hegel played a crucial role, and also Marx had not always the same approach to Hegel. And therefore, in my biography, the relation Marx-Hegel is not one theme, what I can treat one time in a certain volume and then it's done. No, it is one of these themes which will accompany us throughout the whole biography.